Okay, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to get another 50 to 70 hair transplant patients every month by knowing where your patients are coming from. Okay, I'm going to walk you through the very simple steps that you need to be aware of. So the first thing is you're spending money without knowing what's working. If your clinic doesn't know exactly where its patients come from, you're essentially making marketing decisions blind. You might be spending heavily across Google, Meta, Instagram, SEO, etc., without knowing which sources actually produce the most surgeries. You don't know which channel produces the most patients. You may be putting money into channels that generate cheap but poor quality leads that don't end up buying from you. You can't confidently decide where your next marketing dollar should go, and your team may be relying on assumptions instead of real data. And also you can mistake high inquiry volume for successful marketing. Just because you get lots of inquiries from Instagram doesn't mean it's going to be successful surgeries. And you're making important growth decisions without seeing the full picture. And number two is you can't see where patients are being lost. Knowing the source of an inquiry is only the beginning. You need to know where it comes from. You need to follow that patient through the entire journey and understand what happens after they enter your clinic. Otherwise, you can't tell whether the problem is your advertising, your qualification, your coordinators, or the follow-up process. You need to track the source of every new inquiry. You need to track how many inquiries become qualified. You need to track how many qualified leads actually book a consultation, and you need to track the consultation attendance. So how many people who book actually attend, and then track deposits and completed surgeries and compare the entire journey across different lead sources. So you need to know all these numbers for all the different platforms that you advertise on, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Google, YouTube. You need to know all these numbers for all of these things. Next is number three. So you end up scaling the wrong thing. One of the biggest problems with poor attribution is that clinics can increase spending on a channel simply because it produces lots of inquiries. But high inquiry volume doesn't necessarily mean high patient volume. You need to know which sources actually produce the outcome you care about. A channel can generate thousands of inquiries, but very little surgeries. Another source might get less inquiries, but have more patients. Cheap leads aren't automatically profitable because they're cheap. High inquiry volume can create unnecessary workload for coordinators. So for example, if you're generating hundreds of leads from Instagram, but barely any of them become clients or patients, then you're making lots of unnecessary work. Let me highlight this. You're making lots of unnecessary work for your coordinators. Scaling a weak source can increase wasted ad spend. So you're wasting money and you're wasting coordinators' time on bad leads. The best source should be judged by patients and revenue, not just clicks. So you need to look at where the patients and revenue are coming from, not just the numbers. And by numbers, I mean, are you getting lots and lots and lots of inquiries? You need to focus on getting patients. So what happens when you know exactly where patients come from? Number four is you know where to put more money. Once you can clearly see which source produces actual patients, you can stop guessing. You can identify the channels that consistently move people from inquiry through to surgery and allocate more resource towards the sources that have proven themselves to give you more patients. Identify your highest performing acquisition channels. This is the number one thing. I think I will put this in green. And compare patient volume by source. Also compare deposits by source. Compare completed surgery by source. Increase investment into proven channels. This one is so important. I will make these green. Increase investment into proven channels and then reduce attention on channels that underperform. Just because you're getting 1,000 inquiries from Instagram doesn't mean it's good. You can see your real cost per patient. Cost per lead is only one small part of the equation, A clinic needs to know what it actually costs to acquire a completed surgery. Once you connect marketing sources to patient outcomes, you can understand the economics of each channel much more clearly. So track the advertising spend by source. Is it Insta, YouTube, Google? Track the inquiries generated by each source. Track the qualified patients by each source. And track deposits by source. So if you can link your deposits to Insta, let's say Facebook, Facebook or YouTube or Google, if you can link the deposits to these, then you know exactly which source to put more money into, and calculate the cost per completed patient, and then compare acquisition cost against the revenue that you've generated. Number 6 is you can improve your team. Attribution doesn't just tell you which marketing channel works. It can also reveal what happens after the lead enters the clinic. If one source generates excellent inquiries but poor conversions, the problem may be inside your qualification or follow-up operation rather than advertising itself. If you're getting 1,000 inquiries but only 20 patients, maybe it's your qualification or follow-up operation. So compare coordinator performance by lead source. So have the same coordinator follow the same script for Instagram, YouTube, and Google, and see which one performs best. Identify where different sources drop off and see where sources produce the most qualified patients, and then find where follow-up is failing. And then also identify the training opportunities for coordinators, and then hold the team accountable using actual patient outcomes. So the most important thing is to know where someone drops off. If you can find where someone is dropping off, what stage, okay, then you can say, it's here. And then you fix this part. Number 7 is you can build a predictable growth machine. When you know exactly where your patients come from, you can start connecting marketing activity directly to the surgeries. So you will know, for example, let's write it here, YouTube equals 50 surgeries, Instagram only equals 5, for example. Instead of simply hoping more advertising creates more business, you can build a repeatable acquisition system based on what was already working. So know how many inquiries each source produces, know how many become qualified, know how many reach consultation, know how many pay the deposit, know how many become a surgery, and know which sources you can scale. So whether it's, let's add another thing, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Google Ads, SEO, or whatever else you're using, Facebook, you need to know all of these numbers. Let me just highlight this for you. You need to know all of these numbers for each of these. So the goal is, don't just ask, where are our leads coming from? You need to ask, where are our surgeries coming from? This is the most important thing, because the source producing the most leads isn't necessarily the source producing the most patients. So track the source, track the patient, track the surgery, then scale what is working. So pick which one from here is working after you've tracked all of this. So know how many become qualified, how many become consultations, how many become deposit, how many become surgery from each one. And then you know which one is working best. If you need help scaling and optimizing your hair transplant clinic, then just book a call with me and I will help you and show you what you need to do.